Hello, welcome to Passion for Marriages. Thanks for joining us today. This channel is dedicated to growing closer with your spouse through a deeper relationship with God. This teaching video on Passion for Marriages is called Temptation. In our Christian walk, facing temptation will happen. To deal with it, we need to understand where the temptation is coming from. St. Aquinas, theologian and philosopher, identified three places the enemy starts his attacks. If we don't acknowledge the source, we will fail in our resistance to the enemy's schemes. There are three basic temptations we want to look at today. Temptations of the flesh, the world, and the devil. Number one, temptations of the flesh are predisposed weaknesses of the heart. The Bible calls them our carnal nature. These are manifested in many forms: compulsive lying, gambling, drinking, overeating, just to name a few. Everyone has different temptations of the flesh. What entices one person doesn't necessarily entice another. Our carnal nature will wage war for more and more. Our tendency is to fight these temptations, but Scripture has taught us to flee. Joseph ran when Potiphar's wife tempted him. Ephesians 5:16. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. When we delay or don't respond to temptation right away, we are more than likely to give in to the temptation. David's temptation with Bathsheba is a prime example of delay. He should have been out with his troops battling the Ammonites, but he remained in Jerusalem. Some say he knew where Bathsheba would be at a certain time of the day and purposely stayed behind. 2 Samuel 11:1-4. In the spring of the year, the time when kings go out to battle, David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah. But David remained at Jerusalem. It happened late one afternoon, when David arose from his couch and was walking on the roof of the king's house, that he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. And David sent and inquired about the woman, and one said, Is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? So David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her. Then she returned to her house, and the woman conceived, and she sent and told David, I am pregnant. David's temptation led to lust, which led to adultery, which led to Bathsheba getting pregnant. And if you read on in 2 Samuel 11, David tried covering up the fact that he was the father by attempting to get Uriah to sleep with his wife. When that was unsuccessful, he put Uriah at the front of the hardest fighting to ensure that he would be killed. This played out exactly like James 1:14-15. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desires. Then desire, when it is conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. David did not flee this temptation, but embraced it. Number two, the temptation of the world. We need to resist these temptations. Romans 12:2 says, Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, which is good and acceptable and perfect. In this text, Paul is referring to the ideology and philosophy of society as a whole and telling us not to follow its obliviousness and resistance to God's design. 1 John 2:15-16 also says, Do not love the world or the things of the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desire of the flesh, and the desires of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not from the Father, but is from the world. A prime example of not conforming to the world is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. In Daniel 3, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold and commanded everyone to bow down to it. Verse 8 says, Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and maliciously accused the Jews. Verse 12 says, There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. Verse 19-20. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and the expression of his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times more than it was usually heated, and he ordered some of the mighty men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew what the penalty was for disobeying the king, yet they resisted and followed God by not bowing down to the false gods of the world. The third temptation is from the devil. 1 Peter 5:8 says, Be sober-minded, be watchful, Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. These temptations will be won by fighting. We are in a war for our hearts, minds, souls, spirits, and lives. There is a spiritual battle at work to bring us down in our faith. The devil will use every tool in his arsenal to come up against us. He will use lies and twist scripture to defeat our walk with God. He will dispatch depression, anguish, guilt, doubts, and desperation to devour us. Jesus fought the devil's temptations with scripture. Luke 4:3-4. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread." And Jesus answered him, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone." Verse 7-9. If you then worship me, and it will all be yours. Then Jesus answered him, "It is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and only him shall you serve." And he took him to Jerusalem and set him on the pinnacle of the temple. And he said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here." Verse 12, and Jesus answered him, "It is said, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test." Scripture is a powerful tool for us to use in fighting this temptation, so let us hide it in our hearts. Temptation comes to all of us. By knowing whether the source of temptations comes from the flesh, the world, or the devil, we need to be aware of this so we can establish whether to flee, resist, or fight. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it. I have found out that you cannot defeat temptation on your own, but staying close to God is a way of escape. Thank you for watching, and please join us next time. If you enjoyed this video, be sure and give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel to get more videos about building your marriage better. You can drop comments below or send us an email with prayer requests, questions, or comments to passionformarriages@gmail.com. As always, we want to pray a blessing over you straight from Numbers 6:24-26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thanks for watching and have a remarkable week.